Mayor Andrew Medellin,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jose Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Cece Foley Gallegos is absent. Councilmember William Oliver.
Here.
Councilmember Derek Robinson.
Present.
Councilmember Charles Rigby is absent. Councilmember Donald Hawley.
Present.
Thank you very much, Zelda. I do not see Pastor John Purcell, who is to give the invocation this evening. So if I can ask Councilman Donald Hawley if he would not mind giving the invocation, if you'll stand with me, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May we all bow our heads. Most Lord, gracious Father, again we come thanking you for this day. Thank you for those who are present. Go with our staff, our city, our county. Go with the lives of Madera. Lord, we just want to give you praises. Go with our counselor today to make decisions on behalf of our city. And go into our homes, Lord, as we start off a new year, and bless our families, wherever those are lost and homeless. Give them warm comfort this year. In Christ Jesus' name we say, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Councilman. I appreciate it. If you'll join me in the pledge, please. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to public comment, the first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will be asked to identify themselves and state the subject of their comment. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold the comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusions should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time. I see there's a couple of people wishing to speak. Please step forward.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Weisner, and I'm with the Community Action Partnership of Madera County. And I'm here to just give you a brief update on the upcoming homeless point-in-time count that will take place on January 23rd through 25th. And I have blue flyers that you've probably seen a dozen times by now, but I'm going to as of today, we have 44 volunteers signed up, and I'm really pleased with that. And if no one else signs up, we have more than enough to do the job. And so I want to thank you for all the support that you've given us and for getting the word out there. If you did intend on signing up, the 17th of January is the last day to sign up to be part of the count, and there is some mandatory training on that day at CAPMC from 1 to 3. So just wanted to give you an update. It's going well this year.
Great.
Real quickly, Elizabeth, is there still an online training as well? I know last year when I went through it, I was able to log on online to do that.
Yes. If you've been part of the count before and you've already gone through the training, you can take an online version, and they're hoping to have that link up and running in the next day or two, so that will go back out. So that's an option, so you don't have to take the time out to go to the other training.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weisner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Glenn Scott Bogosian. I'm a 30-year resident of Madera. I have a little bit of a difficulty picturing in your mind what time do you get up in the morning to come to work. Well, this last week, right after the Christmas break, I looked outside, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I see a street sweeper coming down the road, which is fine, but that's my trash day because of the holiday. I've already called the city manager before on this situation because this has occurred before. The only difference is now, instead of coming by at 9 o'clock in the morning, it came by at 6 o'clock down the middle of the street because everybody is home and all the trash cans are out. It's a small thing, but my little neighborhood tries to keep itself pretty clean. And, you know, and I've already went through all the stages. I understand. I work for the city of Fresno, and you go through steps. You start at the lower level, and you work up to the top level. Now I'm at the top level. I already talked to the lower level of the maintenance group, they said, oh, that was a mistake. I stopped the truck. I said, why are you coming down this way? They told me to come down this way. I called the city manager's office. I said, why did they do this? Oh, it's a mistake. He's a new driver. You know, and has happened 3 or 4 times. It's a little thing, but I do pay for this service. And I like to keep my streets clean and well maintained in my neighborhood, because one day I'm running around pulling trash cans out of the roadway so the street sweeper can come through. Again, maybe on a trash day, when it falls on a holiday, like Martin Luther King, President's Day, so on down the line, which has occurred, maybe if the guy sees there's trash cans in my sector, obviously the other sector is probably not having trash pickup that particular day, and maybe he wants to go there. It's a small thing, but we're trying to keep our city clean, and maybe at your level, you might be able to tell somebody, you know, it's a simple thing. You see trash cans, go out there, find a place there's no trash cans. And then 6 o'clock in the morning, in a residential area, I don't know what time you get up in the morning. I go to work at 5:30 in the morning, except for when I'm on holidays, or, I mean, not on holidays, but on vacation. But half the cars are still sitting out in the streets, and he's going down the middle of the road. Maybe in the business sector is perfect to be there at 6 in the morning before everybody shows up. But in a more residential, if you look outside your door, there's quite a few cars till at least 7:30 when they start going to work. Thank you very much.
Glenn, if you don't mind me asking,
Yes.
I didn't catch your last name, sir.
Bogosian.
Bogosian, okay.
Boghossian.
And your address for 2 reasons, one for the record and the other so we can...
I thought I said it. My mistake. 1743 Princeton Avenue. My residence is near Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
And it was actually on the trash pickup day, not...
Well, what happens is when a holiday comes, it kicks it over one extra day. Normally on Wednesdays we don't have a problem, except for when there's a holiday. And this last time was 4th of July, fell on, which then kicked it over. President's Day kicks it over. Martin Luther King's birthday kicks it over. And this one was Christmas, it kicked it over. And I just happened to be up early in the morning because I normally get up early in the morning. And he's cruising on down the road a little after 6 in the morning. And when I stood outside, all I saw was cars on both sides, and nobody's gone to work yet. You know, and trash cans are out there. So all he's doing is going down the middle of the road, turning around, going back down the other side of the middle of the road. So
your normal trash day is Tuesday, but whenever there's a holiday, we push it back an extra day.
No, our normal. Oh yeah, that's correct. Yes.
It's on this Wednesday or this flex day
Right.
that we use for our. Okay,
Right.
got it, sir.
Yeah. So he could have gone to the Monday guys,
Yeah.
and came to us on the because they already picked it up on Tuesday over there. You know, so it's just a little bit of a swap. Well, it's not I don't think a big thing, but he might have been over there on Tuesday going down the middle of the road. I don't know.
Well, my apologies for you not having service when you called the City Hall, but I appreciate you coming down here to a City Council meeting and letting us know what's going on in your neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Alan Covarrubias. I'm born and raised in Madera, California since 1989. My residence is 217 South K Street, apartment 18. And I am an employee with the Madera Unified School District and also an employee for a local retail store. And here with me I have AB 64 and one of the city ordinances. And my question is, where does our local governing bodies stand with the retail side of AB 64? Is there going to be permits or any information about AB 64?
Are you
Or the
talking
business side?
about the marijuana issue?
Yeah, the recreational marijuana.
We actually had that meeting before, and during public comment is not really the time for us to address those particular issues, but I would be happy to, either myself or our chief of police would be happy to discuss some particular issues with you as a sidebar, if you like.
Okay, sure.
Okay?
All right.
We've had previous discussions about it at the meeting, but it's not on the agenda this evening, so
Okay.
I think it would be best if we maybe, if you met with Lieutenant Chiramonte, maybe he can help you out over some of the things that we discussed over the past meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, my name is Raimundo Maya. I live at 1213 Del Valley Avenue, here in Madera. And, I have this situation with my in-laws. They had a house fire, and that's been since October the 23rd of 2016. And in the beginning, it seemed we went for the city for help or assistance with the housing projects and rebuilding rehabilitation programs. And supposedly all the programs that were supposed to be available, including self-help, have been denied. And I would like some answers because at first it seemed that nothing was working out. I couldn't get no direct answers from the people directing the different so-called programs that were supposed to be available, which were denied in the very beginning. Okay, I knew they existed, and they finally, after we had the paper lady, the lady from the paper, set up an appointment for us for a hearing here at the City Council. We seem to have gotten a little bit of, something to look forward to for assistance to help rebuild my in-laws' house because they had a house fire. Okay, it seemed like everything was going okay after the first meeting, because at the very beginning, all the programs were being denied. And finally, we got some, I guess something to look forward to, saying that, they would be assisted in the funding of the house. Well, I was told that after I finished cleaning up the lot, I tore down the house and then cleaned up the lot. After I cleaned up the lot, the program had already ended, supposedly, and there was no funds in the funds. Okay, so we're back to square one, and I would like some answers because I talked to the low-income developing housing director, I believe it was, and I wanted some assistance, but he had no answers for me. And I want to know who do I go to in order to get something done for some assistance.
If I remember correctly, sir, first of all, I'm sorry for the house burning down. It was your in-laws, correct?
Yes.
And my apologies for that. I remember you coming down to City Council, and so I'm trying to go back a couple of years if I can remember. But I think, Yvette, you had assisted this gentleman with trying to get some self-help or some kind of program. And just for the record, it's not necessarily the responsibility of the city.
Right.
We understand that you were in a very, very difficult position, so I think Yvette might elaborate a little bit more as to how we've helped you and how we can continue, if at all, to help you with your situation. Yvette, you want to
Yeah,
elaborate?
Mayor, rather than put that on a discussion during public comment, which really wouldn't be, it's not agendized, it'd be better if they could just discuss that offline, I think.
Okay, which I think is what we did last time. So if I can have you meet with Yvette, who I believe helped you in the past, maybe she can offer some additional assistance that we have in the past and help you with that situation?
Okay, yes, fine.
Okay.
Or if not, if we can set up an appointment for a hearing with the City Council.
Once again, I don't believe that's the responsibility of the City Council, but what I'd like you to do first is speak with Yvette, and whatever we can do here, we will do.
All right.
Okay?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Eddie Block, and I'm here for the same thing, but I came here this time to say thank you to the City Council. I understand you're going to be having a small business association or small business class for the citizens, and I just want to say thank you for that. And I also wanted to let you guys know that I spoke with Mr. Cerrone, the owner of our building, and we're going to be the first one to repaint our building so that way we can help redevelop downtown Madera. I went to get a permit today, and thankfully, I don't need one. So just letting you guys know.
Great,
thank
Mr.
you.
Block.
And also, I'm going to come out with a video pretty soon. I'm a film student, so we're going to see how we can redevelop, because I polled about 100 people, and they gave plenty of suggestions on what they want to see downtown.
Wonderful.
So I wanted to thank you guys, and Mr. Oliver, I will talk to you soon about it, so thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Block.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd like you all to know that even with my best editing skills, I was unable to get the information that I wanted to give to you tonight down to 3 minutes or less. So I've prepared written documents for the board members. A lot of this is should have been addressed to Mr. Rigby. Since he's not here, that might slow me down a bit. So if you would bear with me, and then if you want me to sit down and shut up, you'll have it in writing. I would have postponed this until he returned, but Madera Tribune's been given a copy of it also. So I just gave that to Ms. Becker, and I don't want her to have it wait before you guys.
If you can start with your name and address, too.
I sure will. I just wanted to get that out before I got started. Thank you. My name is Vicki Sloan, 503 North O Street. I'd like to ask that council members Robinson, Foley, Rodriguez, and Hawley understand that they are again being excluded for now. I'd also like to make certain that the officers and civilian employees at the Madera Police Department understand that they too are excluded from this. At the last meeting, I spoke of a person who had offered to help the city out of the financial mess. As I returned to my seat, Mr. Rigby addressed me. He said, Ms. Sloan, just so you know, to avoid any violation of the Brown Act, I was not going to inform my colleagues of our discussion until the matter was brought up tonight as agendized. So, if it was, I cannot ask him, but if it had been his intention to bring it up, what happened? During our conversation prior to the meeting, I had told Mr. Rigby exactly who it was that I was speaking about and exactly who he was in regard to Madera. I told him that a lot of people were aware of the plan to move Chief Frazier over to Mr. Tooley's office and appoint Commander Lawson as the new chief. His reply was, I assure you, Ms. Sloan, there is no plan. There has been no discussion or decision made about who will fill the interim positions. We are all trying to get over our shock about Mr. Tooley's resignation. At the last meeting, when the item was agendized, Council Member Hawley said that he was not prepared to vote on the interim, but rather he had understood it was the ad hoc committee that was to be selected. The mayor nominated himself, Mr. Rigby, and Mr. Oliver. No one asked if any other council member would be interested in being on the committee. Do you think they aren't capable? Or would this disrupt the plan if your choices weren't put in place? Oh, wait. I was assured by Mr. Rigby there is no plan. I'm not sure if the general public is aware that you can do as you please in regard to making permanent the interim choices. The omni and it's done. Again, perfectly legal. And I'm sure under the guise of saving taxpayers all that money to do the search, you'll be giving yourselves another round of applause and thanks for a job well done. Then, with your people in place, you can move forward with the plan. Oh, wait. Once again, I was assured by Mr. Rigby there is no plan. In the interest of saving time, I'll go over the introduction briefly and skip to the last paragraph. Date, December 18, 2 days before the council meeting, 4 days after my chat with Mr. Rigby. 2, long list of names. I assume most, if not all, of the police department officers and civilian employees. Subject, change happens. After the lengthy paragraph, again, I will be skipping to the last paragraph. So what does this mean for the immediate future? We will backfill 2 key positions on an interim basis. Commander Lawson will move into the chief position, Lieutenant Chiaramonte the commander position. At some point, assuming all goes as planned, we will make permanent the chief position with Chief Lawson. It sounds funny to me too. Once that occurs, the chief will begin filling vacant admin positions through testing, etc., Great things are in store for this organization. If I do not see you, have a blessed Christmas. Sincerely, Steve Frazier, Chief of Police. Assuming all goes as planned,
Ms. Sloan, I just want to remind you of the 3 minutes.
I'll be happy to sit down. You can all read it in the paper tomorrow.
I'm giving you
Okay.
ample time.
Is this
Be
the
fair.
plan that Mr. Rigby assured me doesn't exist? We will make permanent the chief position with Chief Lawson. It appears that somebody here is having trouble with the truth. And for clarification, I assume the "we" that Mr. Frazier refers to is himself and the ad hoc committee of Mr. Mayor Medellin, Mr. Rigby, and Mr. Oliver. And I've included a copy of that for your inspection. You don't need eyes to recognize where there's a stinky in the woodpile. The bigger the stinky, the stronger the odor, the farther it reaches. And when you become one of the unfortunate ones downwind from it, well, I'm sure you get the drift. We all have. The stench continually leads us back to the same names over and over. Before I neglect to mention it, Mr. Mayor, regarding your editorial in the Big Valley News, you stated that the city did a salary compensation study in 2015 and that the one prior had been in 1998. It should be noted there was a study and a salary adjustment in the early 2000s. Between 03 and 05, maybe. It was conducted by Mr. Rios, HR department head at the time. You stated that you make yourself available to everyone who wishes to speak with you. We tried. You didn't return the call. You go on to say that you're offended by the inferences to cronyism.
Ms. Sloan, I think it's well beyond the 3 minutes. I appreciate you coming down. I think we have a copy of what you want here. But in all fairness, I think we went well beyond the 3 minutes.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and ask for a late distribution announcement.
Pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, members of the public are advised that documents related to the following agenda item were distributed to the council less than 72 hours before this meeting. B4, consideration of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Madera directing city staff to initiate the process of issuing refunding special tax bonds to refund previous bonds issued for Community Facilities District Number 2006-1 and approving contracts with Del Rio Advisors, LLC as municipal advisor, Jones Hall as bond counsel, and Hilltop Securities as placement agent for professional services required to complete the refunding and authorizing the mayor to execute the contracts. The agreements related to this item were distributed to the council this evening. Extra copies are available at the podium for members of the public wishing a copy. Thank you.
Thank you, Zelda. And moving on to consent calendar, we just have a few items on consent, but I would like to move item B4 into open session. I think we have a handful of questions and some additions to that particular item. So with items B1, 2, and 3, is there any other council member that wishes to further discuss or pull those items? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent calendar as presented with the exception of item B4.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar consisting of items B1, 2, and 3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item B4, I think there was a couple of questions. Plus, I think this is something that should be in the public, something noted by our finance director and our finance department through their due diligence that I think is going to work out very favorable for some of our residents in the city of Madera. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Mr. Prisbila so he can kind of shed a little more light on this particular item. Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and council members. Yes, I see this as a positive item this evening. As you know, we've been working with a team to refinance the golf course debt and the police station debt, and we're wrapping that up actually on Friday. That debt will be completed. We'll issue that debt, and that's been keeping us very busy this week. This is the next project that we've identified as an opportunity to save money, not for the city of Madera, but actually in this case it's for the homeowners, owners of the parcels in CFD, the Community Facility Districts 2006-1. As we are looking for opportunities to save money for the city, I asked Mr. Deeker to look at the CFD refunding possibility also, because although it doesn't save money for the city, because whatever is charged to the parcel owners is just passed through for the debt service. So in this case, Mr. Deeker identified that there will be over, well, he'll explain to you, but there's over 11% savings on this for the homeowners, and we think that it's a positive thing that we're moving forward. If you will recall, there was a time a while back when the homeowners were concerned about the increase in their property taxes, and we went to the home of one of those homeowners and met with them and explained the situation to them. So I hope that they'll find that if council approves this team for this project and all goes well as projected, that they'll be pleased to see that we've been working for them and that we'll be able to save them some money. Having said that, and having had the late notice distribution that describes what's going on here, I'd like to turn the time over to Mr. Ken Deeker, who has a presentation for us, and hopefully his presentation will answer some of the questions that are already out there for the council members. And afterwards, I'll be glad to answer any questions the council might have. Ken Deeker.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Prisbila. Ken Deeker with Del Rio Advisors, Municipal Advisor to the City. Happy New Year, everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit about the refunding, sort of the process we've gone through for this particular transaction. In October 2017, Mr. Prisbila requested that I take a detailed look at the city's debt portfolio for opportunities to refinance or refund, we call it refund bonds, for economic savings. I recommended several opportunities. As you know, we were in the process of working on refinancing the golf course lease project, but I also identified through the audited financial statements the potential to refund the police station lease. We combined those two together. The net result is a positive cash flow savings to the city at the end of the day of about $118,000, so even better than I had presented to the council a couple weeks ago. And that is closing on the Friday of this week. And it has been a mad dash to get all this done before the letter of credit expired on the variable rate bonds. I also identified an opportunity to refund some of your water revenue bonds. Unfortunately, those bonds are not callable until March 1 of 2020. We could have done the refunding, except for the fact that with the passage of the new tax plan, it eliminated advanced refundings. So we may end up having to wait for that until close to 2020 to be able to take advantage of low interest rates. So we'll have to wait and see if that opportunity is still around. And then what we're talking about tonight is an opportunity to refund the bonds related to Community Facilities District number 2006-1. What we're seeking tonight is to move forward with the team, and we're planning to bring this item back to the council, I believe on the 17th, with documents, should the council choose to move forward tonight. In December, before Christmas, I did go out to multiple bond counsel firms to get proposals for legal services. And these are the four firms: Jones Hall, KMTG is Chronic, Moskovitz, Tiedemann, and Gerard, a very active bond counsel firm in the Sacramento region. Quentin Timmig out of the Bay Area, and Oric, who also worked on the golf course financing. As you can see, Jones Hall was the low bid at that for $20,000 for legal services. They'll be in the role of bond counsel. They'll prepare all the legal documents, which will be presented to the council on the 17th. And also in December, myself and the placement agent, Hilltop Securities, we sent out a term sheet to 21 potential lenders. If you remember from my presentation on the golf course bond, we received 10 proposals on refinancing those bonds. The reason that we only received 2 back on this one is the term of this is 18 years. and the sweet spot for commercial banks is 15 years or less. But in this particular case, we did get two competitive proposals. Western Alliance Bank was the winning bid at a 3.83%. The interest rate for them is locked through January 25th, so it's not going to change between now and the proposed closing date of January 25th. We're shooting for the end of January to close the transaction, again, if the council wishes to move forward, because we need to serve 30 days notice to the bondholders, and the call date on those bonds is March 1st. They have set up redemption provisions on the new bonds, callable beginning on September 1, 2025 at a 103, down to par 100% on September 1, 2028, and they've set up a reserve fund at 20% of maximum annual debt service. The cover bid was Municipal Finance Corp. At 3.98%. Their bonds were callable a little bit sooner on September 1 of 2023 at 100%, but they did require a higher reserve fund. And some of their fees that were built into their term sheet also made it. So the interest rate was higher, and they had a little bit higher fees on the term sheet that they responded. So what we're proposing to do here is refund the special tax bonds that were issued in 2006. Original amount was $2,885,000. There is $2,600,000 left. The final maturity is September 1 of 2036. So again, that's about 18 years out. That's about 18 years out versus the sweet spot for the commercial banks at 15 years. The call date is any March 1st or September 1st at par, so we're not paying any early redemption premium to retire the bonds. And the interest rates on that range from 4.5% to 5%. So we took a look at not only a direct placement through the term sheet process to the commercial lenders, but also took a look at this as a potential refunding this on a public offering basis. Public offering would mean you would have an actual order period. You would sell bonds to mom and pop retail investors, institutional investors. The fees for that are considerably higher. Interest rates, even though they can be lower than the direct placement, they're more than offset by the much higher fees. You have to hire a special disclosure counsel to prepare the official statement. It's a very long process, and we would not be able to make the March 1 call date. And as you can see from the analysis before you, total savings are slightly higher on the direct placement. Net present value savings are slightly higher on the public offering, but the two are pretty close to one another as far as the overall cost. So my recommendation is, based upon the locked interest rate that we have through January 25th, and that the direct placement is basically in line with the public offering. The public offering takes a lot more time and money to pull the market, and we don't know what the market's going to do over the next few weeks or months. So I recommended the direct placement option. Total projected debt service savings at the locked interest rate. Now I also want to quote out here that I assumed when we ran these numbers, $80,000 of total cost of issuance to pay all the legal professionals and everyone involved in the financing. That's all built into these savings calculations. Average savings is about $21,913 per year. When you divide that by the 304 property owners, it's approximately $72 per year. For 2018, the single-family residential units are paying about $610, so that would go down to, $632, whatever it is, $638 for single-family residential unit in the district. Total savings, $395,000. Here's the estimated cost of issuance for the transaction. Again, we went out to bid on the bond counsel. My fee is municipal advisor. Placement agent fee at $10,000. Bank counsel, that was part of their term sheet. They have their own counsel to review documents. The special tax consultant is the administrator for the district, and the bank may need to have some special tables prepared as part of the financing. That is a potential cost that probably come down or may not be needed at all. So we might be able to shave some additional dollars off of these costs of issuance. There's some staff time, administration time involved in this. So again, Mr. Prisbila has found that out working on this most recent financing, that it's an awful lot of staff time to pull all this stuff together. We do have a trustee and an escrow agent to pay off the prior bonds and act as trustee on the new bonds, and some regulatory fees. So we used $80,000 as the estimate. We were running the numbers. My current cost of issuance budget is $77,000, and again, that probably will come down a little bit depending on how much work the special tax consultant would need to do on the transaction. So in summary...
I'm sorry, Ken, yes. I hate to cut you off, but Councilman Rodriguez, I think, has a question maybe pertaining to what you just recently said.
Yes. And it's probably earlier. Now, you had mentioned something about the reason why you had to jump on this, because the March deadline was coming soon.
That is correct.
What was driving that? Is that one of the actual advisors that we had to hire or consult with?
No. So the bonds are callable any March 1st or September 1st.
Yes.
The problem is that you would have to close within 30 days before that March date in order to notify the existing bondholders that their bonds are going to be called away. So if we missed February 1st to serve that notice to bondholders, we would have to wait again until July or August of next summer to do the refinancing for the September call date.
Okay.
So we're trying to move to get this done so that we can meet that time frame to notify the bondholders and actually retire the old bonds on March 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So again, I've worked off and on for the city, just a little bit of my background. I assisted the city pro bono back in 2013 when the letter of credit on the variable rate bonds for the golf course were about to expire. And I'd made a recommendation at that time that I thought the variable rate transaction was most attractive, which it continued to be for quite some time, and the city realized a lot of positive interest rates. I was also selected through a competitive process to work jointly with another firm on the water and wastewater refunding that we did in 2015. The placement agent on the lease revenue bonds that we're closing this week, I had gone out to a bid on that to firms that I have worked with for those services in the past, and I received 3 proposals back. Hilltop Securities had come in with a fee of $5,000. That's when we were just doing the golf course bonds. We later added the police station. So the fee went to $10,000 in total for the total combined transaction. Brandis Tallman, another investment banking firm out of San Francisco that specializes in a lot of direct placements, their fee for just the golf course portion was $13,500. And the fee for Piper Jaffray, who's a very active underwriter, does a lot of underwriting and direct placements, their fee came at $17,500. So we chose Hilltop Securities during that process. And they've done an excellent job on the lease deal because, again, we secured 10 bids on that transaction. And so Mr. Prisbila decided to continue to work with them, just given their low fees. Bond counsel and the lender were both selected through a competitive process. Again, I went through the fees for the various firms. And the lender, of course, selected through the term sheet process. As I said, the direct placement is seen as the preferred sale type due to the relatively small size of the transaction. The fact is it doesn't make much difference whether you did the direct placement or the public offering, and we can certainly close the direct placement much sooner than we could having to wait through the whole document process for the public offering. Western Alliance Bank, through the competitive process, was selected as preferred lender. They have locked the interest rate through January 25th, which is our proposed closing date. And there are significant annual savings of about $21,913 per year or $72 per year per parcel. Again, when you're paying about $610, $72 is helpful. I will state that the special taxes in this district and the debt service on the bonds goes up by 2% per year. It's just the nature of the way the original bonds were sold. We're keeping that same escalating, but there's going to be $72 of savings every year to the property owners. And that works out to be about a little over 11% net present value savings. The CDAC guidelines, the California Debt and Investment Advisory Commission guidelines, are any savings greater than 3% are considered significant. So again, this is a very significant refunding. Even though it's a relatively small size, we're generating some reasonable savings per parcel to the property owners. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions of the council.
Thank you, Ken, and I appreciate you helping us out with that, and Mr. Prisbila as well for your diligence on this. $72 a year may not sound like a lot to some, but it actually is. And I don't believe you were here months ago when the residents from this particular CFD came into City Hall questioning a lot of these numbers. And so we did go out and met with them in their home and tried to explain just what their property tax meant, and I think they were very appreciative of that. And not necessarily because of that, but I think because of our team and our staff that we did everything we could to assist. And so now to be able to tell them that we were able to refi and to show a significant savings, I think they're going to be very, very appreciative of that. And so I want to thank Tim and you, Ken, and your whole team for getting us to this point. I think it shows on our professionalism at City Hall and that we're always looking out for our consumer and for our ratepayer. So thank you very much for that, for your assistance.
Can I just add one additional question, if I may, Mr. Mayor?
Of course.
So I noticed on the staff report here that you had already, and of course you had advised us in regards to the golf course and the leasing of the police station. Now, on there it states that we're already working with the municipal advisor and a placement agent. So how does that bond counsel differ now in that, was that utilized also in the refinancing of the golf course and the police station? Was that something different, and how is it different in this situation?
In the particular case of the golf course financing, Ori Carrington and Sutcliffe had been the city's bond counsel for a number of years on almost all of your transactions. They were most familiar with the transactions. They had worked on the original golf course project, so they were a logical choice. And their fee on that project actually, and if you may remember, originally came in at like $39,000, something $39,500, and they actually reduced that fee down to $35,000. That's a very complicated transaction, and the higher fee on that was, I thought, a little bit on the high side, but was justified. And as Mr. Prisbila will testify to you, it's been a tremendous amount of work to go through the title and release the police station and the city hall. So they earned their fee on that one. This CFD refunding, I think, is a much more straightforward transaction. It's not near as complicated, much fewer set of documents and requirements to get it done, and that's why it was better to go out to an RFP for the fees on that.
Okay. And obviously that was the lower bid based on the diagram that you showed us there.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you for those questions. Any other questions or concerns? Ken, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. If not, I will entertain a motion for item B4.
Move to approve item B4.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item B4. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks again. Moving on to council reports. Starting to my far right, Councilman Robinson.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. And my far left, Councilman Hawley.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to invite everyone to our MLK 50th anniversary. That's going to be held at Martin Luther King Middle School on January the 14th at 2 o'clock. We have a very nice keynote speaker. She's from the Valley. She was raised up in Chowchilla. Her name is Captain Janie Curvin, and she's a proud daughter of Willie Nelson and Ethel Nelson. So she will be our keynote speaker. She's coming from Texas and also to listen to 5 amazing kids from our school districts to give a speech on Martin Luther King. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Looking forward to for that anniversary. Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Medellin. I don't have any reports, but I do have a comment I'd like to share with my fellow council members. It's now been a year since I've been in the council, and I've had a good opportunity to work alongside my colleagues and making important decisions to the city. I find it interesting how 7 individuals with 7 distinct views and backgrounds can work together in an environment such as the council without pulling each other's hair. At this point, that hasn't happened, which is a good thing. But nevertheless, I feel that we need to develop and strengthen relations amongst ourselves by providing governance workshops that can build a foundation of teamwork and shared vision. Describing what our duties are amongst our council and, most importantly, to our city is of the highest importance to me. When I served as a board of trustee, I recall having these on an annual basis. I'm not trying to bring this back here, but if you recall, during that period of 2010 and 14, that board was facing some breakdowns in communication, and I'm not sure if that was due to governance or what have you. But I'm not saying that it's occurring here. I think it's imperative that we as a council hold ourselves accountable just as we expect our employees to do so. In my opinion, the city provides its employees with the proper and ongoing training and for any job or position or duties that they're required to do. And with that, I feel that it's important that we, too, hold ourselves to those same standards by providing ourselves with more training to govern ourselves. I know that I need it. I'm here for a year. I know you guys have been here for a lot longer than I. The more information and education that we have as councilmen and women, I think we can become like that employee in that we are qualified or certified to do our jobs. Again, I'm not implying that we're not certified or qualified, but rather that we too should be learning our roles to a higher standard, meaning working on team building and getting our city ahead in spite of the negative attention that has been drawn to our city. with the consensus of this council, I'm not sure if I can, Brent, or not, but I'd like to recommend maybe a guidance with our mayor and our interim city manager to form a committee to possibly select some governance providers that can come back, agendize it, and possibly select one or two that might be able to help us in providing these workshops. So I'm not sure, I'm not really trying to take action, more like recommendation, see if that's
You're
something
looking to
that-
have something kind of brought back to you for as far as like a governance workshop or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
More importantly, I think we, at least in my opinion, I think we owe it to ourselves as a council. I'm new into this team, and I feel that it's important for us to kind of get to know what our duties are, and at the same time build on that. I think we're a young council, and I think we can definitely do good things with our city. So.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point, Mr. Councilman. And anytime we can increase team building and communication amongst ourselves, I think that's a great thing. So
Noted.
move forward to that.
We'll find.
Thank you.
Dig something up that looks useful and
Absolutely.
bring it back.
Great idea. Councilman Oliver.
I was going to say that's a great recommendation, Councilman Rodriguez, and maybe in the meantime we can afford some additional positions on our recreational basketball team that
Sure.
we play on from time to
Sure.
time. So, but I have nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And I just a brief report regarding an email we got today, the increased ridership to the State Center Community College. I think starting at about 7 a.m. and every hour on the hour, 2 different routes with about 4 to 5, one route, but about 4 to 5 different pickup areas to take folks to the State Center Community College. And I think this is absolutely fantastic. It's an opportunity to help those that simply just don't have a ride to further their education after high school. And so starting at 7 a.m. and ending at about 5:15 or 5:30 with a round trip every hour. And I think the longest trip would be no more than 30 minutes, which I think is a very small price to pay. So I want to thank Yvette and our team in transportation, which is a number of people, also working with MCTC and others, to help make this happen. I know Madera Unified is certainly happy that we can do that, knowing that a census was taken with a lot of their exiting high school seniors that did not further their education simply because they didn't have a ride. So again, I want to thank you and the team for helping make that happen. That's all that I have. Thank you, everybody, and we'll have an announcement from our city attorney.
Yes, Mayor. The council will now adjourn to closed session in one item, that's conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, and the representatives and organizations are as listed on the agenda.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. The council adjourned to closed session, and one item that was conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, and no reportable action was taken.
Thank you very much for that. And with that,